Oh, excellent. So, good evening, Julie. Sorry, just while I get my computers and the like sorted out, and let me just. It's not going to let me share. So there we are. Right, we'll park that there. So that's all good. Excuse me shuffling around. My craft room, which boils in the summer, is freezing this evening. Oh, let me shut that noise down as well, so you can definitely hear me, because that's now gone off there. So I have a nice thick fleecy top on to keep warm, because otherwise it's flipping brassic. Good. So tonight we're just at 7 o'clock. So good evening, Anthony. Thank you for joining us. Good evening, Joan. Hello, Julie. That's lovely to see everyone. So let me just shuffle some of this stuff that I was using earlier out of the way. Let's pop these into some degree of logic where I won't then promptly forget what I'm going to do with it. Good evening, Jill. Hi, Diane. It's lovely to see you. It's nice to see so many of you who were also watching the Pentart live with the lovely Blanche Agria earlier on. It's nice to support lots of different creatives, isn't it? Really important, really important to do that. So let me just take that out of there. Good evening, Liz. I hope you have warmed up. So I'm going to use a Mad Hatter's MDF piece that stands up. So it stands up like this, and it's lead tonight. And I am using Merry Christmas papers by Alchemy of Art. But really, you know, just because I'm using these papers doesn't mean that you have to use them in any way, shape or form. But they are rather gorgeous. Hi, Elaine. So let me see. I have a plan. It's always helpful to have a plan, I find, isn't it? Always helpful to have a plan. So let us. We've got a little bit of gluing and a little bit of measuring to do, but hey ho! And I often would have done this up front. So let me just grab my broken cutter and hook it back together again, because hopefully it'll now click into place. I have my messages switched off, so I don't understand why that's binging at me, but hey ho, it'll just have to wait. And let's just do that. So one of the things about the Mad Hatter's scrapbooking MDF kits is that they have double frames, which really does add a degree of elegance. And I'm going to paint the outside, put paper the top, and it's not difficult. I make this evening is really not designed to be complicated or difficult. So that is 14.3, you know, nothing like making life easy for us, by 5. So let me just chop some of this out. Good evening, Lorraine. Hi, Jill. So let us just have a little bit of a chop of this piece of paper. We'll just do it a little bit bigger than it needs to be. Let's go 5 centimetres, because we can always chop stuff out. There we are, that can go over there. It's always cool to have extra. 14.3, so we'll just do it a little bit bigger, because then we can always chop. So we'll take some off, and we'll have a little bit of filing to do once it's dried, but that's also all okay. And we've got a little bit of gluing, because this is really a a paper craft project this evening. There is a bit of painting, but that to me doesn't make it necessarily something that you might classify as mixed media, in spite of the pundits in TV world who seem to think if you've added more than paper it equals mixed media, but that's what makes them happy. So I've just got some universal glue from Pentart, just to confuse me. They've decided to relabel half of their stuff, which is fine. They moved warehouse earlier on this year, and I really do think that, you know, their systems have been updated. And anyway, yeah, it's good, isn't it? All is good in the world. Let's just make sure we've got reasonable care of this on here, and then we can pop this on, let it dry in front of a fan. We've got a couple of bits that we need to paint to get some paper on, so that piece can go onto there. Let's just line it up as I say. I can, and I will file it back. There we are, so that can go on there. Just give that little squidge. That can sit there to adhere. And the second piece, because I like a completed project, and it might be a bit of a pain from a filing point of view later on, but hey ho, that is also fine. So is going to be the back of here. So let's just add some glue onto this. And you could compromise and, you know, and take things back and not do so much. Hi Caroline, thank you for joining us. Good evening Dominic, lovely to see you. Feel free, you can't share from the group, can you? So I shall not ask you to share stuff, because it's not fair when I know full well you can't, because I couldn't earlier on. There we are. There we are. Yeah, as I say, I will have a challenge filing this back, but I think the challenge will be worth it, and I can always have the challenge of neatening up off air later on. Depends on how frozen cold I choose to be, I guess. There we are. It's not so freezing cold, because some of this glue is already drying. Hey ho! Hi Jackie, thank you for joining us. It's lovely. It's lovely indeed. I have I've got this live tonight, and then I am live for Pentart tomorrow, and I've got a very different project planned for tomorrow night compared to this one. So hopefully you'll like it. So let me just eyeball that reasonably straight. There we are. That can go there. That can be given a little push down. That's the front of it. You know it's the front because it's got some nice etched markings to be helpful. So that can go there. That can go there. Now, because these have rings to go on top, which is lovely, you're left with these spaces that need filled. So I went and had a little hunt of my circular dies, and none of them fit the spaces exactly, but that's guaranteed, isn't it? But as the top layers are going on, I've picked some dies that are approximate on their outer edges to the rings that I need, and I thought that might be quite helpful when it comes to cutting out the pieces for the centre of it. And I'm going to use deliberately I'm using the reverse of this piece. So I'm mindful of where we're going. Pencil would help, and as I say, this is just so that I've got, it was just to try and make my life easier in terms of piecing stuff together. And what did I have that were lots of circular sizes? So you could die cut them. The dies are obviously a bit smaller than the edges themselves, so that's why I've chosen to draw around the edge of my piece of them rather than use them as dies. But if you've got dies that will work exactly, then that would even that's good, isn't it? The question is whether I'll be able to see the pencil line, but hey ho, possibly. And then we have our third piece, which will pop into there and hopefully line up reasonably straight. Good. So there we are. So we'll just give this a good, and because I know this is going to be covered, I possibly could have just actually used a nice black pen to do this, but hey ho, challenges accepted for cutting. So I'm hoping that you know, that might be a helpful trick. It's cutting circles to fit pieces is not actually that easy, is it? We all know that it's not, and you don't have to, because they're being covered, it doesn't matter if it's not exactly things, but I'm hoping that this will just make my life much easier to getting the approximate sizes that I need for my pieces. And I could have got a compass out, but sometimes life is too short. So is that going to fit on there reasonably straight? So that's going to be in there, that's going to be in there, that's going to be there. Let me just have a little trim there and make sure that that's going to fit. And again, excess can be filed off if you need to. So you know, there's always ways and means, isn't there? There we are. We'll just, but I just thought that actually using your circle dies as a guide was possibly a helpful activity. And I'm deliberately going to keep these all of the same piece of paper inside. There we are. Let's just chobble a bit more off there because it's going to be in the way. There we are. So that will help. Chop a bit more of them. So trim quite happily. That can go onto there. That can go onto there. There we are. We've got a bit of a wonky cut there. Though I could use the reverse of it if I wanted to. I'm not. I'm going to keep this as I intended, and hopefully we'll have, when it's the lines reasonably straight, because that wouldn't be helpful to have them all on the wonk, would it? Well, it'd be just typical, wouldn't it, to put it all on the wonk. So there we are. We'll just chop this approximately. So there we are. And I will need to take a piece off that, and you're is going to. I think they're a really, really good addition to any craft room. So, you know, want a shape a bit smaller than a die, chop on the draw around, cut on the inside. Want it a bit bigger, cut around, mat and layer as you need to. There we are, and that one's going to go on there. So let's get those. She says, grabbing her inked on onto there. As I say, this is more of a paper craft project. Tomorrow night's for Pentart is absolutely a full-on mixed media live, using some of the summer products rather than all winter ones, but it is definitely a Christmas themed project. So I want that to be, because there are lines on this, I do want it, though I am going to be covering quite a lot of it, I do want it to be reasonably parallel with the base, just to be easier for me overall if I do that. If I get this lot all glued down first, then we can do the little, there's only a tiny bit of painting for this project, but I think the end result, and I'm hoping that it just shows that you don't always need to make life complicated for yourself. You can sometimes make things relatively simply, but still have something that is effective and that you're happy with it. Good evening, Judith. thank you. Who was it that said it was nicer? Sheila. It is lovely, lovely paper. It's by Alchemy of Art, and it is Polish company. It's available from an Irish store who happily ship to the UK, and possibly the lovely Sarah Wright, who is on Dawn Bibby's design team and runs Craft All Day. She may have some left in her online shop too. They are lovely, lovely papers, and it's become one of my go-to brands. I've got fed up with Graphic 45 quite a while ago, and I'm increasingly getting fed up with Mrs. Producer's 55 tons of stuff every single month stamp period, because you just simply can't afford to buy it all, can you? No matter what you try to do, it just isn't. So let me just give that a little push down and let that dry. So that can do that can go there, that can go there, that can go there. Ground floor in place, very inelegant hook there, and she says wobbling that. And now we have the extremely limited amount of painting that we're going to do today. So this is Bourdon, and because it's Christmas, I thought I would throw the boat out and get out my metallic paints. Now, metallic paints really don't feature very often in my crafty makes, but at Christmas I do like the sheen that they give, and this is just a really lovely rich dark winey colour, so with a metallic sheen. And I'm going to wax the edges, so that means I don't need to worry about some of covering the edges of both sides and promptly getting wax on or paint on the bits that I don't want it on. Good evening, Patricia. Thank you for joining us from Peru. It's lovely to see you. I don't know if you can get these papers in Peru. I think it might be a bit of a struggle. I do know that they are available in the USA from Cindy Crane. So that's a place to have, if you're out that way watching, then that might be a good place to go to. And she was promoting earlier on today, so I'm fairly sure that Cindy definitely has them still in stock, and I know that 14 Craft do. Though I accept that the shipping in from Era may be expensive. But as I say, use whichever paint. The concept is more important, I think. You can you can take this concept and use with any pack of papers that's got fussy cut elements. So you really don't need to just because I'm using these, use things that you've got. I'm sure we can find images. I think there's quite a few digi-kits available with the poinsettias. There's a company that's called Port Host, is a good guy, that sells through Amazon, lady who's got some collage books. Now they are beautiful, and they will equally chop up pieces of papers and use those. So don't be just think but Jill's got these, you don't can't make the project. That's simply not true. Although I have to say that on the whole I do try to keep stuff that I know is accessible and that there are alternatives. So that can go down there, that can go down there, that can go there, that can go there. Before I end up with red paint where I don't want it, we'll pop that over there. That can go over there. And I was a well-behaved child earlier on. I put a new blade into my craft knife, because new blades are definitely safer than old ones. And this is always a bit of a headache, getting into little corners in these, but it's perfectly doable. And a new sharpened blade will work perfectly well, and as do a set of emery boards. There we are. So sharp knife, sharp blade, new one preferably, and a little bit of filing and you'll be there. I'm going to have to line these up, and the edge is not going to be quite, because these are beautifully rounded edges. I'm just going to file off the edges of this paper. It just neatens it up, and actually if you go from the top down, it helps push the paper onto the edges onto the MDF, which means it's much less likely to lift up. I really don't suggest you seesaw up and down. I am lifting off and coming up and down, because I think you just get a better result when you do it that way. So I hope that everyone is well, and that you've got lots of layers on, and that you're keeping reasonably warm. And I am going to that's it. So I like to use an archival ink, because they're permanent when I'm doing things like this, that are will get put away for storage year on year, just because I think that you get a it's safer than using a distress ink, which is water reactive. So obviously if you've only got distress inks around, use an appropriate coloured one of those. As I say, my choice at the moment is the Ground Espresso archival distressing, but it's about using what you've got, isn't it? Not necessarily having to have everything. So that's reasonably dry. Now this will be that'll be a challenge, won't it? Because I'm at the end of this pot almost, and I've just placed an order for several more from Pentart. I don't necessarily want that all to squidge into that hole, so let me just roughly swish it out a bit so it's not quite so thick where I don't want it, and then I need to line that up with the etchings and the centre, because otherwise we'll have a difficult job putting it in. And just because most PVA type glues dry shiny, I think it's a good idea to wipe off the excess as much as you can. So let me just make sure that we are reasonably aligned in there. Cool. And there we are. So that's that bit. Right. Challenge. Because you like it, like a challenge, really. And again, this is where a sharp blade will make my life much easier. Now then, I am going to go round as far as my hand will naturally let me. Okay, and then I'm going to turn my piece to come into the corners to complete the bits that I need to complete. So by turning my paper as much as possible, I'm making my life easier. And of course I'm going to leave that in the back. I think it will look pretty going forward any which way, and it's going to be a shed load easier. Oops, I can see I've still got some wet glue there, so I'm going to leave that bit at the top for the time being. I'll come back to it. I'll come back to it. But you definitely will find it's easier to turn your paper or your piece to where you need it to be than trying to be a contortionist. Contortionist I am definitely not. I'd like to be, but gymnastics was not my skill set at school. So I know that I can do that safely as a backwards, but I'm hoping, because I've had a sharp knife, most of this will be free. So the bits that aren't, and you can see by wriggling where you haven't quite got into the edges. So that's going to go into there, that's going to go into there. And I need to turn that round to get properly into that piece. There we are, that's now freed. So where are we holding? That can come out of there. That's probably because I didn't do that bit. There we are. So even though that might look like it's quite a tricky shape to get around, actually it's not if you just have a sharp blade and turn your piece of paper around, rather than stressing about it all. And I could, if I really wanted to, take the inner pieces out of the out of the hanging parts, but actually I'm not going to, because I think it's going to look just absolutely fine as it is without doing that. So there we are. And filing is just going to neaten all of those edges off. I do try to add tips to my lives, because sometimes I think it's really, sometimes if you always do something then one way, it becomes you don't necessarily think that what you're doing might be novel to someone else, and so it's helpful, isn't it, sometimes to have. So that just needs a little bit more of a file down over there. And having put my heater on and then wrapped up in a very nice warm oody type top, am I now cooking? Yeah. So there we are. Let's just take our time. I know we don't have to be here all night, but if you're going to do it, you might as well do it nicely. There we are. It's still a bit raggedy there. You can see when you haven't got it off, the paper off smoothly. There we are. And on this side I've still got, because this is double-sided, even though I cut that approximately to fit, I wasn't that good, was I? But hey ho. We'll get there. Take that piece off that top. That's reasonably neat. That's reasonably neat. That's reasonably neat. Hey, hey, I like it when a plan comes together. Good evening, Martin. Are you enjoying your biscuits, my darling? So let's just match this to the base. With adding some of this pink. And as I say, if you did, you know, if you didn't really want to do this, you could. Ooh, she says, throwing her bits of paper that she's all got spent ages fussy cutting out. Then you could just paint the back. You know, I'm all for making life easier. You know, there's no point in making life hard work for yourself if you know, if cutting out the edges is going to cause you to lots of stress and to make you unhappy, then don't. Just paint it. That will work. I don't need to necessarily ink the edges of those because we have that. Now then, she does. The hot glue gun needs to go home. Yeah, she says. Let's just hope the pin flare hasn't dried out, because that'll be the next move. Right, excellent. So this piece is going to go onto there. So let's see how much of a mess we can make now with the glue. Oh, it's going to behave. As I say, it's on the dread because then I've chopped the applicator off because I bunged it up a while ago. Yeah. So there we are. I know Wendy might not well join us tonight. I know she was aware that I was doing the project. So Wendy is the owner of Mad Hatters because her lovely daughter has come over for a month from Singapore. I think it's Singapore anyway, somewhere out in the Far East. So she is spending quality family time together, which is really most important. I might end up needing to add a little bit more paint onto there because I can see where I've missed a bit. So let me just do that whilst the going is good. If I can find my nice little paintbrush that I had a minute ago. Can I find a nice little paintbrush? In amongst the mess. There we are, that one will do. It's not the one I had earlier, but that will do. So we'll just add an extra bit of paint onto there. As I say, my intention is to gold wax the edges when I've finished anyway. Okay. So that can go there, that can go there. That now needs a little blast dry. Didn't think that one through, did I? It's not, you know. So, just that little squash. Make sure that's down. Need to add a little bit of paint into here at some point, or a little bit of paper. And now I've mixed up all of my nice images, but hey ho. So I'll just pop, some of them were extra anyway, I know they were, so yeah. So in the Merry Christmas pack from Alchemy of Art, there are several themes, and one of them was gingerbread houses, hot chocolate, and cakes. So I thought, well, why not? Why not just, along with houses and elves and Father Christmases and some houses. So lots of different images to choose from, meaning that you don't just, you know, you didn't just have to pick one style. And that's lovely when it goes to it. So that these also come from a fussy cut pack. So I happen to, let's start at the bottom because I think that's probably the more logical place to start. And let's just give these a little haircut. So I started with 12 by 12 papers and then the 6 by 12 add-on packs. And let me just give our gingerbread man a little bit of shape. And as I say, got all of the detail in here. It's just wonderful. So and I fussy cut these, and I've deliberately left a white line when I was cutting rather than on the image, and my reason for doing it is that my fussy cutting just won't get into all of those little nooks and crannies, and so I think it's easier to leave those and just ink, and then it all looks the same as if it's intentionally done like that, rather than fussy cutting is for everything that you can possibly fussy cut into, but then still having some areas that where you can't get you physically get in. Oh, you could get a knife out, I guess, but you know, and you could trace it all out on a second and cut, I guess, and cut it that way. But again, I think you just yeah, be kind to yourself, learn the tricks that allow you to, yeah, to be happy with what you're doing, and so we'll go one at a time. So that is going to be, let's put that up right. So let me see, there we are, we've got lots of layers to add. Can't go over the bottom of there for obvious reasons, because that's, so we're going to pop him there and there. We've got another one of the, another snowman, and all I'm literally doing is using my fingers to add some extra shaping into these characters. I've got a flat piece there, so we're going to fill in that gap. I think that's going to be irritating because I want to fit it into that curve, so let me just grab a die, because that's going to help me curve that in more naturally. There we are. That won't be exactly the right size, but again, it's going to let me sit that in there reasonably comfortably, a bit on the wonk, and that's okay. And then I've got another set here and some more here, and I'll add some more bits as we go. So some of this is going to go flat, and some of this we're going to build some depth with, and some of it we might I'm going to pop that down there actually, and some of it we may well add some more pieces to as we go. I've got lots of poinsettia to tuck in, so that piece is going to tuck into there, so I've got most of that on show, and this piece can go flat in here as well. Lots of biscuits! If you're getting lots of money on payday, you have been working just a tad ridiculously hard, Martin. It has to be said. Just a tad. Might pop that on the wonk. Let's see if this is bunged up or not. And if it has, we'll be using hot glue. Oh no! Oh, that then will behave for a change. There we are. Well, that can go into there. Little bit on the wonk. We're going to pop our gingerbread man into here. And pop him there. So the pieces are popping out. And let's just pop, see some of them are double-sided, so let's just pop that onto there. And the joy of pin flare is that it will all sit in nicely. I think we might tuck that underneath there. And the other joy of pin flare is it going to allow me to lift and place. Let's get that sitting upright, and we're going to add another parcel there. And we'll leave the next bits and for when we've got the next in, and then I can tuck things under and in and under. So we've got gingerbread men. And then we've got peppermint hot chocolate. And because these are double-sided, don't matter if I poke these over the edges. And we've got a candy cane. And we've got another hot chocolate, and we've got some pastels. So there we are. So I can just shape this a little bit. That's going to sit there. Good evening, Stuart. Thank you for joining us this evening. Cups are rounded, aren't they? So there we are. We'll pop that into there. We'll pop that there and there. Sorry about that if you heard my lovely husband shouting my son. There we are. Do gingerbreads count as biscuits in your mind, Martin, or are they cake? There we are. Or a bit of both. Depends. I remember having ginger cake as a child at my grandmother's. Right, so same principle. We're going to have some bits that are flat to fill in the gaps. We're going to have some bits that are definitely elevated. Oops, she says, making a squidgy mess. So that can go onto there. Ginger cake. Jamaican ginger cake was always on my grandmother's tea table. Always on my grandmother's tea table. So that can go there. Might need a little bit more, might not. Let's just tuck that into there. Okay, okay. And then we have cake. Gotta have cake, haven't you? Gotta have cake. Gotta have cake. Little muffins. There we are. So we're gonna pop that. Right. Bailey's in hot chocolate. Yummy, 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 scrummy. Let's just have we've got another house here, so we'll carry on adding. I think we might tick that one into there. You see, that's what I do. I faff. I add. I mess about. I play. I change my mind. Yeah. Am I any different to anyone else? Probably not. Do I like what I do? Absolutely, I love what I do. So that's all that matters. Oh, might get away without hot glue tonight. Hey, hey! I like it when a plan comes together. So there we are. Yeah, I think I'm going to pop some Lieberkuhn. Yeah, Lieberkuhn, Jamaican word for biscuits into there, possibly. Let's just pop that into here. Have I crammed as much as I can possibly get into there? I ask myself. Well, you never know. You never know. We might not eat all of this little lot. On the other hand, we might. Oh, I'm going to pop that into there. Do you think that's missing? So this is what I will carry on doing. And there we are. I'll tuck that into there. And we've got some little peppermint sweeties. So we might, do we want to add one of those? Which we might. I might just tuck a peppermint swirl there, because why not? There we are. And the paper's got even dinkier ones, so there we are. We can put that one into there. And I think I've decided that I'm not going to put so many poinsettia onto this one. We're going to keep it possibly a poinsettia. No, we're not going to keep it a poinsettia free zone, because why not? Right. Or we might, on the other hand. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Let's just have a little play. I'll pop that one there. Yeah, we are going to pop some of those into that. That's going to be sitting on the flat, tucked underneath there, so that can go into there. That one can go into there. That one can go there. I like Glubacum, I have to say, but mind you, having said that, I have quite a sweet tooth, and I like most things that are maybe not so very good for you. So that can go there, that can go there. These are from Tim Holtz, that lovely thing. So we could go, I think we might put, the Merry Christmas might sit there, and we might put 'Tis the Season up there. So these have been in my stash a while. And I just raided what I had and thought, well, it would help, wouldn't it, if you plug the hot glue gun in, not the iron. Well, we'll manage without them, because otherwise we'll be there for ages. There we are. So that is going to balance, but it needs a little bit of dimension at that end. And we'll shuffle that stickiness down there. So that can go there. Let's get your parallel and not have too much mess. We're going to have some naughty and nice, because, well, it's just a very apt, I think, for a project that is featuring lots of cakes and goodies. And 'tis the season. She says, get off. Get off. It will be shiny. The only problem with glued out is I know it is shiny when it's dry. There we are, that can go into that. Do I want to add any of these? I think not. I think we're going to leave it. We might leave it. No, we're going to pop that into there because it'll ground the teacup. More peppermint swirls. There we are. Good. Eeny, meeny, miny. Let's put the lid on that. Tuck those away. Those will go into a different project, but that's cool. Didn't ink that, did I? So the only headache with these Tim Holtz quote chips is that they don't hold the ink brilliantly well. Wax, yes, that not. So that can go over there, that can go over there, that can go over there. Let's pop that knife away before we have an almighty mess. And then that can go into there. So that I'll just add, as I say, I might end up needing to grab a little bit of paint off camera to add in to that bit. So I'll pop that into there, and I can shuffle that into there. That can sit there like that. Excuse me just while I get this in, and I will tip it up and I'll explain. Yeah, you're not in fully. So I just need to give this a jolly good, yeah, you're down as far as you're going to go because of the rings. So I'm going to let this dry before I add wax around the edges, because it'll look better when it's got the wax around the edges. But there's a little bit here that just needs, with a better brush than that, a little bit of paint adding. On that side, and quite a lot of paint on that side. So, but what I might do on the other side is grab a different word chip, which I've got plenty of, and tuck that onto there to cover that up. So ladies and gentlemen, that can sit in there, that can sit there, that can sit there. I will wax around the edges. That's hardly on the straight, is it? There we are. Let's pop that like that, that like that. That looks vaguely straight now. Be good. Just let me grab this. I'm open, otherwise I should be smithered about the bit where there's a gap at the bottom. She says, promptly sending a whole cascade of stuff flying. Because why not? And just need something that's going to fit. If I turn this over, I think I can trim that just a little bit, just a little bit. Yeah, dear, oh dear. Well, I might have run out. No, we haven't run out of glue. As I say, I might have done. So that can go into the bottom of there. That will help cover that gap nicely. So I've got the back covered. I've got some pieces poking out, but that's fine because they're double-sided. I'm going to turn this round, straighten that up like that, like that. Leave that to dry, leave that to dry. Wonky will irritate me long term, so I know I needed to do that. So here we are, my darlings. We have our 'tis the season to be naughty and nice, and Merry Christmas. And I think that given that the paper pack has all of those different elements in, along with a lot more, then which will feature in my next live on for crafting together with all brands in 2 weeks time. So in the meantime, I want you to all to stay safe, to have a good evening, to enjoy your Christmas preparations, and hope that some of you will be able to join me on Pentart's page tomorrow for, well, I'm going to make a Santa sack, because I think that with foiled wrapping paper and glittered wrapping paper being non-recyclable and costing a small fortune, it might be a good idea to use a cloth for packaging and have that so it can come out and be used for storage or used year after year. So that's all for now. Please take care, stay safe with whatever you're doing, and I will see you back live in 2 weeks time. Bye.